What's up, y'all? Sorry it takes 3 seconds. Every time I hit the screen record button, it beeps on the third second for some reason. So just right up front, this is a UFC video. That's the only thing I'm talking about. So take that for what it's worth. So yesterday it was announced that Alex Pereira, kind of hard to pronounce his name correctly, Chama, my current favorite geez. Well, you can tell what kind of state of mind I'm in right now. My current favorite fighter, Chama. I just call him Chama. That's who he is to me. He's in the news. And so the reason I'm making this video is because this is a topic that I can just go off the dome from for 15 minutes. So I hope y'all find this entertaining in some way, and thank you for watching. And so first off on the screen, I got a GIF, and that's how you pronounce it, by the way. Anyone who says GIF is wrong. It's GIF. Sorry. That's just the reality of it. Even if the guy who invented the word says it's GIF, like, he's wrong. Just because you said it first, that doesn't mean you own it forever. It's GIF, okay? So this is a beautiful GIF of Alex beating the living shit out of Wank Alive, I like to call him. Is his name Muhammad? I'm tripping because I was just talking. I just got a like from Muhammad Mokayev on Twitter because I replied to one of his tweets and I said, "Hey Dana, it's time to forgive Muhammad and bring him back to the UFC." So of course he liked it because, I mean, it's true. Like, Dana needs to let him back in, but that's a side. Magomed, Wank Alive. His name was Magomed. They all got they're all names with the M, and there's like 7 syllables. And it ends with a V, you know, like, but they all kind of sound the same, but they're all also very distinctive. But yeah, so look, I was a huge Israel Adesanya fan. When I first got into the UFC was UFC 229, which is a very famous card. It's the most watched pay-per-view in UFC history. I think it's like 6th place or 4th place in overall pay-per-view history. It might be 6th place though. Like, it's all like Floyd Mayweather, like, totally runs all the records on that one. Which I didn't know that. I didn't know he was popular like that because I was never into boxing like that. Look at that. You see, you don't even have to listen to it. You could watch this GIF for 15 minutes straight and it would be worth it. But there was a lot of context behind it. So I guess I should start off with my boy Izzy, though, right? So I know this is another photo of Alex at first glance, but it's the cover of the new UFC game. You know, it's like Madden for NFL. Like, I played UFC 4, and personally, I just don't enjoy it. Especially because you do 3 5-minute rounds, so like you have to like concentrate really hard for 5 minutes straight. And like, I'm good on that. Like, when I play a video game, like, I'll play an open world game, you know what I'm saying? So there's parts when there's dialogue, there's parts when you're just walking around. I mean, sure, there's combat and stuff, but it's not just like non-stop, only combat constantly. It would be like if you played Final Fantasy VII, but the entire game was just the random battle section. Like, can you imagine how miserable that would be if that was the only part of the game, period? So that's kind of like UFC to me. So there's no way I would ever play these games. I did try UFC 4 because it came out right when I was a new fan. Because like I was saying about UFC 229. And so that opened me up to it because that was a big night. I was with some friends that I had just met through a job. It was a party, and they were like Connor fans. They were already UFC fans, but they're casuals. But, you know, they were going to watch, you know, UFC 229, of course. It was the most popular pay-per-view in UFC history. And so I got caught up in that wave. And so by the time UFC 240 came around, that was when I first started catching every card. That was when I became a quote-unquote hardcore. And that was Max versus Frankie Edgar. And that's also relevant because that's the alternate cover for this new UFC game will be Max Holloway, who beat Frankie Edgar at UFC 240, the first pay-per-view I ever watched of my own free will, as opposed to UFC 229. I was just at a party and that's what they were watching. It wasn't like my conscious choice to watch it. But yeah, UFC 240 was the first time I sought out MMA for myself. So this is all very relevant, right? So that's around the time that the point is, I'm very long-winded here. I already burned 5.5 minutes. So this is around the time that Izzy was coming up in the ranks. 2019. I think UFC 240. What was that? Let's see here. What day UFC 240? Let's see. July 27th, 2019. So yeah, that's around the time that I became a quote-unquote hardcore fan. Therefore, I watch every card I can catch, unless I was busy or something else was going on. And I also watch all the media coverage of every card. Like, I know what's going on. I watch all the media, like the mainstream media people. I watch a lot of YouTubers, and I'm on Twitter reading people's opinions. So I eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff. But I'm not really stubborn, but I'm a huge fan. And Izzy was probably one of my first fighters where I was like, he's my favorite fighter. He pretty much was my first favorite fighter, to be honest. Because see, the funny thing about UFC 229, when I watched that, I only knew about Conor because he was famous. I didn't know him because I was a UFC person. I never watched UFC in my life, really. I knew about Chuck Liddell and Tito and Anderson Silva and GSP when I was growing up because they were famous. But I never actually willingly watched UFC of my own accord, right? So, yeah, so that's when Izzy was coming up. Oh, wait, let me finish my point. I'm sorry. Yeah, so 229 happened. I knew who Conor was, but I had no idea who Khabib was. I had no idea that he was going to end up being my favorite fighter of all time, except for Alex, who I would say I like Alex probably more than I like Khabib, for sure. I think I would say Alex is my favorite fighter. Nothing, and that's not a knock on Khabib, though. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people hate Khabib. This shit gets on my nerves. I'm just gonna call him Khabib. I gotta stop trying to say his name right. It's Khabib, goddammit. Just like Jorge Masvidal. His George Masvidal, right? Those are the things that Colby said that were correct. Marty Usman, right? See, I didn't come to the game until after they were famous. But apparently, Kamaru Usman, he used to go by Marty. That's all funny, though. So, anyway, Izzy's coming up during the time of UFC 240. And, he had some good knockouts. The main one that comes to mind is Derek Brunson. And then, of course, the fight with Kelvin Gastelum was a huge fight. It's a Hall of Fame fight. That's when I first started watching. That was the first Hall of Fame level fight I think I may have seen that was recent or relevant in terms of recency. Because, of course, when I first got into MMA, it was 2019, but I went back and watched all the classics that you're required to watch first. Like on the UFC on ESPN, when they were on ESPN, they had a top 25 fights of all time list, and the first two were Conor versus Nate. Which in hindsight is fucking ridiculous. I mean, Nate should be nowhere near the consideration for the best fight of all time. I mean, you gotta be fucking kidding me. That's why I agree with Ilya. So, I don't want to get on too much of a tangent. We can go on about that stuff later. But that fight with Izzy and Gastelum, first it made me a fan of Gastelum. I kind of liked him in the fight. But I liked both of them for sure. I was definitely very impressed. And so I was a big fan of Izzy. For years and years, I never turned on him. When he knocked out Rob, his walkout to the Rob Whittaker fight, the first one is the best walkout of all time. Hands down, especially because he won. And also especially because he won by fucking knockout. I mean, you can't do it better. Even Potan has never done anything, that cool. well, at least specifically in terms of walkouts. The Jamal Hill knockout was pretty legendary for sure. We all know about that beautiful meme. But yeah, so I was always a big Izzy fan. I still am a big Izzy fan. So the thing about Alex Pereira, when he joined the UFC, I hated him initially. And I also hated Glover Teixeira for talking shit. And then I realized that he was just like Alex's training partner. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought he was like talking shit about Izzy on purpose. And then I was like, oh, it's just promotion. Like, obviously, he's going to talk shit about Izzy if he's training Alex. I mean, obviously, right? I mean, what else can you say? Like, of course he goes. So you forgive that. But like, I wasn't a fan of Alex because you see when he flatlined Izzy in their kickboxing match, he like also taunted Izzy's unconscious body, and I generally find that to be not very high class. Let's put it that way. It doesn't exactly endear me to a fighter who does stuff like that, and I didn't know the context of any of it. And so by the time Izzy knocked him out and he shot the arrows at him, and then he even shot the arrows like at his kid, I think, like it's totally okay because it's just rivalry. And you see, anyone who says it's not okay that Izzy did that is fucking stupid because they are friends and they have no beef and there is no problem with it. So if the literal people involved in it don't have a problem with it, then all you little critics who've never lived your life yet, because it's probably a lot of kids who have these stupid opinions, oh, that's bad that Izzy pointed the arrows at Alex's kid. Like, bullshit. No, it's not. If it was bad, there would be a grudge. Why does nobody care except for you, nerd? All right. I guess I've been needing to get that one off my chest. I didn't even know that. So anyway, I love Izzy. So Alex is coming up. I didn't really care for him because I'm an Izzy fan. But then he knocked out Sean Strickland. And I was like, maybe there's something to this guy. You know? He knocked out Sean Strickland, who I am not a fan of and have never been a fan of. And it was a beautiful knockout too, just in pure MMA terms. So I started, thinking differently. But then he went on to fight Izzy, and of course I was rooting for Izzy, and he lost, and that was a huge bummer. And then so he fought Izzy again, and then Izzy got the knockout, and that was awesome, and I loved it. Because at that time, I was not yet a fan of Alex. And at that time, I had also already been a big fan of Izzy for 4 years by the time the rematch happened. So I was fucking thrilled that Izzy won. It was great. So Alex moves up to 205. And see, a lot of retards say he was ducking, but whenever people move weight classes, I think it's pretty obvious that the main reason people do this is because of the weight cut aspect of the sport. And it's not like people will say, you're a weight bully, this and that. Like, dude, shut up, bro. If someone moves up, it's because they can't cut the weight anymore. And then when you got people like Frankie Edgar and Jose Aldo moving down, it's because they can cut the weight. It's not that deep. That's all there is to it. There's no such thing as a weight bully. So anyway, Alex goes on to fight Blachowicz, and it was a very close fight. At the time, I thought Jan won the fight. It is Jan, right? Is it Jan or Jan? Blachowicz, okay? I thought Blachowicz won, but then Alex got the decision, and I was happy about it, and I was taunting about that on Twitter, like the term Schadenfreude. Like, I thought it was, because I wanted Alex to win, so even though I thought he lost, he still got the win. And so I thought that was funny. Because even if maybe I thought Blachowicz won the fight, maybe I wasn't necessarily impressed with how he did it or whatever. Like, I would much rather see an Alex Pereira than a Jan Blachowicz, you know what I mean? It's kind of self-explanatory. But then Alex goes on to beat Jerry twice. He beats Jamal Hill. He beats Khalil Roundtree, finishes them all. Now he's going on to try to make history with a third belt against the infinite glitch Cyril Gane. And so he's totally justified. So I also love him. And so it's very nice to see him getting the fucking cover, man. And then I didn't even get to the fucking Magomed Ankalaev thing. I had lost faith in Alex when he lost the first time. And then he came back and did what you're seeing in this gif. And I felt ashamed for losing faith in him. Dude, Alex Beheta is my hero. Chama.